welcome into this week's Board Check. Jeremy the Impact York, and yes, I am somewhat grinning, smiling, because it's playoff time. It's time to talk about the playoffs, but not yet. We're going to talk about that later in the program. First of all, we want to talk about, I'm going to talk some Glads, I'm going to talk some Boston and their series in general, and then towards the end, we will go over each and every playoff series as they are currently started. Actually, 3 games on TV right now. Hopefully I can remember which 3 those are. If not, I will make it up, and you guys will probably believe me. But first, I want to tell you that the Atlanta Gladiators finished up their season just last Saturday. Myself, John Watts, and Jake Skinner right here from Board Check. They help out a lot. They do a lot of reporting and help out with the show a lot. And they were able to go. We were able to meet and talk to a lot of the players. We talked to a lot of you guys. The jersey auction was fantastic, right? Very fantastic. Had a great conversation with Rory Rollick. One day I will say that right. It's just so easy to just keep rolling that R, and I am terrible at that. Rory Rollick, rather. And we talked to Matt Gannon. We talked to my captain, Derek Nesbitt. We chit-chatted with a lot of different ones. You know, the auction was going on. But it was good to get to talk to everybody. It was a fitting ending as they were able to win that game 6-2. And this was the team that I really like the genetic makeup of them. And I think this team could literally do a lot next year if we keep a lot of this team intact. We'll have to see. We all know how the minors work and everything, but also because of some of the conversations we had, if you are an Atlanta Gladiators fan, then you definitely don't want to miss some of the upcoming episodes, because I can't announce names yet. Just know there's a good chance that some of your favorite people from the organization just may be on this show. And, go ahead and send in some questions if you'd like. You can catch us at Team Impact Media, at BoardCheck, at The Impact 99 if you're on Twitter. If you want 3endzone@gmail.com, we don't have an email set up quite yet, but if you want to send them there, when we have your favorite people from the organization on, we will do everything we can to ask them those questions. Now, we're in green today, and the reason I'm wearing green today is because I want to be a little neutral in between the colors, but at the same time, today's episode is called Here Comes the Money. Here Comes the Money is because as the Gladiator season has slowly come to an end, and they begin the next chapters building into next year, and a lot of the players got called up to the AHL. That was pretty fantastic. I believe 8 total did. A lot of other people are out rehabbing and out getting better, and sometimes just taking time off and going back home. But Here Comes the Money means here comes the playoffs. Period number 3, I guarantee we will talk playoffs until you don't think we could talk playoffs anymore. Starting next week, we're going to have a big board. You guys are going to enjoy that. But that's going to do it for period number 1. We'll talk a little more Gladiators as the summer comes up and the next few episodes, and obviously depending on which guests we may or may not have on here. But Jeremy the Impact York, thanks for joining us. Period number 1. Period number 2 coming up, we will talk Boston Bruins. We will talk Boston Bruins playoff series as they are against the Ottawa Senators. One of the games going on currently right now. It is so crazy if you have cable as to the channels that currently have games. But on the other side of the break, we'll talk Boston Bruins right here on Board Check. Welcome back to period number 2. I'm Jeremy the Impact York. Right here on Board Check, we are going to talk about the Boston Bruins. Now, they kind of limped into the playoffs, I think would be a good way to put it. They did lock up the 3 seed on their side of the East, which was nice, and that got them the 2 seed, the Ottawa Senators. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means, first of all, they're playing right now. Second of all, they're down 1-0, I believe. 1-0 right now to the Ottawa Senators. I'm okay with that. Boston, to me, is really going to have to dig deep. I believe Miller went out a little earlier, hopefully, and we ended up getting him back. We got him back. That's awesome. He came back on. But to me, Boston's going to have to really gear up. They're going to have to really, Boston strong it. I'm not saying they have to fight all the time. I'm just saying they got to throw their weight around, show a little more force, a little more aggression if they're going to take out the Ottawa Senators. Can they? Sure. Will they? I don't know. It's, the tale of two Bostons the way this season has went. I do think they have the edge in the series, even though they're the lighter seed. So, that is what it is. Like I said, period number 3, we're going to talk about all the other matchups, but right now I want to talk about some NHL news because there has been a just crap ton. Let's see if we can also get an update on Can we get it? Do we have anything? Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read real quick. Here we go. It was announced that it is expected, it was announced just 5 minutes ago before we came on, that it is expected that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to name former Florida Panthers coach Gerard Gallant as their new coach tomorrow. They had it down to him and Jack Capuano, who was fired by the Islanders earlier in the season as well. I like Gallant. I think he's going to do pretty well. I definitely like the move very much, and small chance we get some Vegas people on here as well, so you're going to have to tune in for those. But I wanted to get that update, especially appreciate that finally being passed to me where we could find that. In other news, the Kings fired their general manager, Dean Lombardi. They also told Daryl Sutter you can follow him out the door. That would be the head coach. And they promote Luc Robitaille. You guys remember Luc Robitaille? And if you don't, you must not be an NHL fan or a Kings fan of at least 20-plus years. Robitaille was a fantastic player. He is now the president of the LA Kings. I guess we're going to have to get some people from the West Coast on to talk about that. And Rob Blake. You guys, if you know Luc Robitaille, you know Rob Blake. He is now the general manager. Who's the coach? I don't know at this point. Wayne Gretzky. They're pretty much pulling all the biggest players out of the 80s and 90s from their team. Actually, it would be kind of weird if it's Gretzky. I don't think it will be. But, the Kings decided they wanted to do something different. Instead of limping into an almost playoff spot and getting knocked out at the very end, they decided we're moving forward a different way. So, good luck to the Kings on that. I like Luc Robitaille. I like Rob Blake. But then again, I liked Dean Lombardi and Daryl Sutter. So, I think Daryl Sutter will land with somebody else. So will Lombardi. And that's not all the coaching carousel going on here. You guys think the NFL is crazy? The NHL is getting right up there. Doug Waite is going to stay on as the head coach of the New York Islanders. Doug Waite was also a good player from my childhood, I guess. I guess that shows about how old I am. But, he came on as the interim coach. He did a good job, and they feel he's taking them in the direction they want to go. So congratulations, Doug Waite. Coaching Vegas, he's currently right now. St. Louis, Vancouver, the LA Kings, and Florida. I think there's a couple more, but that was the updated list we had. I would say Dallas, but Dallas rehired Ken Hitchcock, who was fired from the Blues just earlier this year. Ken Hitchcock is what the Dallas Stars need right now to help their defense and their goaltending. If you don't know who Ken Hitchcock is, not only is he a great coach, he was a fantastic goalie, possibly top 30 of all time. It might even be on a shorter list than that. But as far as their big stars like Tyler Seguin and some of the others, Ken Hitchcock should be the short answer, not the long-term answer. If he's there more than a couple years, I feel like Seguin and some of those other guys are going to bolt and go other places. That doesn't mean Tampa Bay. I just said bolt because I think they're going to be like a bolt of lightning, be out. They're just, they're not defensive style players. They can play defense, but it's not all defense for them. The Capitals a couple years ago tried to do this, and Ovechkin went from scoring like 50 million goals in a year to like 27 or something like that. So when you got a star that can score like a Tyler Seguin, you let him score. And Jamie Benn, those kinds of guys. So, fix the defense, fix the goaltending a little bit, Mr. Hitchcock, and, you know, beware the birds of the league and make the others in the division scream, preferably the Blackhawks. Now, I have no problem with you taking out the Blackhawks. Just saying. Brian Bickle is actually going to retire. You know, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in November, I believe. He was able to make his return, and oddly enough, for the Carolina Hurricanes, they make it to a shootout, and he scores his first shootout goal and what turned into the game winner just this past weekend. And so congratulations, Brian Bickle. We hate to see you go. I know a lot of even the Gladiators players, a lot of them knew you, and you know, shout out to you for being a stand-up guy and everything. I think there's a lot more in your future, and good luck in everything you get into. And hey, we'd love to have you on the show here to talk about all things hockey, life, anything in general, even marbles if you'd like, whatever. But you know, shout out to Brian Bickle for being just a fantastic human, because at the end of the day, we need to be fantastic humans. And then lastly, I didn't get to this last week because I was a little under the weather. And I can't lie, I'm the only one that does this show. I don't like, most of the time, I don't let other people step in. Maybe that's my fault. But I was a little under the weather. A lot better this week. So, didn't get to this topic. But the NHL has said, as far as Olympic play, when the Winter Olympics spark up in Seoul, South Korea, I believe. It's going to be in South Korea. I'm pretty sure it's Seoul. I don't know of another city over there. But when those spark up next winter, the NHL says NHL players aren't allowed to go. Ovechkin's already kind of said something about this. A couple other players have said this as well. Look, you got to look at it from their perspective. You have a contracted player. He's under contract to the team. Goes and plays somewhere else for free. You pretty much have to stall and take a 3 or 4 week break in the middle of the season for the NHL. Take it in the middle of the season for them to go play somewhere else for free for their country. I have no problem with them representing their country. But they go play somewhere else for free where every risk is put on the team. So if they get hurt, who pays for it? The team. If something happens over there, who ends up ultimately it costing them? The team. We got to figure out some way to alleviate this, or just start doing college players like we did before. You know, last time when we did college players before, it was called the Miracle on Ice. If other countries want to do things, that's good. But as far as the NHL not allowing players over there, I'll elaborate more in the next couple of weeks. But I don't have that much of a problem with this. I've always had a little bit of the issue that, I mean, I like them that it makes the tournament fantastic, just like the World Championship tournaments and stuff like that, Hockey Worlds. But as far as players playing for free somewhere else and pretty much stalling out the season for 3 or 4 weeks, I just stay over here and play. Maybe we make hockey a summer sport. And it's not a bad idea. We just got to have an indoor rink where the ice freezes. Have a couple of them. You know, maybe we do that. It would work out a little better. And I just think there's way too much risk, and the brand that it's damaging is the NHL. So I don't have that much of a problem with him saying don't go over there. So, you know, there's my small take on it. Like I said, maybe I'll write an article or something like that and elaborate more, but definitely more in the next couple weeks. But for now, that's going to do it for period number 2. When we come back for period number 3, like I said, we're going to talk playoffs. Playoffs, Alan. We're talking playoffs. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to go over each and every one of them, kind of give you my take as to how I think they're going to play out. If there are games currently going on, I'll give you a heads up as to what's going on with that. But that's going to be on the other side of the break, so we'll see you for period number 3 right here on Board Check. We're back for period number 3 right here on Board Check. Jeremy the Impact York, thanks for joining us. Shout out to the Gladiators for their amazing hospitality over the weekend. You really know how to make people feel special. I know every person in attendance thought it just had a great time, and I know I had a great time. So did Jake and John from the show that were able to go with us. I hate that the season's over, but that doesn't mean we can't keep talking Gladiators hockey. Can't keep doing some fantastic stuff. You know, I still want to meet a lot of you guys, and when we do some of our board check appearances, we will let you guys know where we're going to be. Make sure to stop by, say hello. May have one this weekend, actually. We're looking into that, but we'll post it up on our Twitter handle at BoardCheck and at the Impact 99. I'll repost it so that you guys see it. Now, I want to make sure you get the score updates here. Maybe if they'll come up. I do know that Boston has just tied it 1-1. So all you Bruins fans, we are now tied 1-1 with the Ottawa Senators. Not sure what just flew. I think there was a bug that just attacked me there. I'm gonna blame that on. I'm gonna blame that on. Not blaming it on the Dallas Stars for what. There we go. Updates. The Rangers are up 1-0 on the Canadiens. Let's start right there. The Rangers come in as the wild card 1 from the East, and Montreal won their division, so they get the 1 seed. Montreal Canadiens versus the, good buddy and friend of the show, Patrick Provencer, who actually lives up in Montreal. Good friend of the show. He actually played some college hockey for local Kennesaw State. Shout out to them as well. They're playing against New York Rangers, a team that somebody on this show definitely follows. So, shout out to you, Patrick. But as far as the way I see this, if the Rangers were going to beat anybody in the first round, it's going to be the Canadiens. I don't know how they're going to do in the second round, but I do think they are one of the stronger teams to pull off one of the upsets, so to say. So I got the Rangers winning this one in 5 or 6 games. If they can steal one at the Bell Center where they are absolutely awful, then I think there's a good chance they're going to win this series. Shout out to the Greg and Ryan at Blue Shirts Breakaway, who do a fantastic Rangers podcast. I've actually had them on here earlier in the season. Shout out to them. They actually picked the Rangers as well, not just because they do the podcast, but they are realists and know what's going to happen. So shout out to you guys as well. I got the Rangers in that series. Gave you the score update that it is 1-1 Bruins and Senators. I'm trying to get who scored the goal. That would be there we go. That's the stat we're actually looking for. All right, we got Ryan scored for the Senators, and Vetrano scored for the Bruins. And for everybody that was wondering, Tanner Glass had the unassisted goal for the Rangers. Now, like I said, as far as that series, Boston's going to really have to play strong. Just like I said in the second period, they're going to really have to play strong, play Boston tough, Boston strong. And if they're able to, once again, if somebody's going to pull off the upset, it's going to be Boston over Ottawa. The problem with that is I don't know that Boston is strong enough to win that. I would like them to, but what I would like and what actually happens is sometimes two different things. So I would like Boston to pull this off, but I've actually got Ottawa pulling this off in probably 6 games or so. That leads us up to the other game going on right now. Pittsburgh Penguins at the 2 seed versus the 3 seed Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, the Avalanche made the playoffs. Holy cow. Right? Anyway, right now it is 2-0 Penguins, because of course it is. And somewhere, there we go. The goals so far is Bonino, Kessel, and Rust all have the goals for Pittsburgh, and that is in the second, I believe, where both other games are in the third. Now, who's going to win this series? Yeah, the same people that are up 3-0 right now. Pittsburgh, they're probably going to win. They might sweep. I don't know. Colorado's going to pick up a game, so I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 5. It's going to make Tony Maselli fan of the show. Shout out Tony, who is playing in a poker tournament right now, a legal one. Good for you, Tony. Hopefully you do well. It's a World Series of Poker event here locally. Good luck to you, Tony, and good luck to your Pittsburgh Penguins. I got Penguins in 5. That leads us to Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals at the 1 seed, the number 1 seed. Remember, the Capitals are my pick to take the whole thing. I don't see anybody strong enough to go, to beat them in 6 or 7 games. So I think the Capitals, unless something crazy happens, it's not going to happen in the first round. They're taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are the second wild card on the East. This will round out the East settings. Let's see if they I don't know how this format works, but if the top seed plays against the lower seed and the 2 middle seeds play each other out of this, let's see. I've got the Rangers winning, and I've got Ottawa winning. I've got Washington winning. It would be Washington and the Rangers. Yeah, must be the same bug. Washington and the Rangers, and Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Swear your coffee. That's good stuff. Can't tell you what kind it is because they don't sponsor the show. But if they wanted to, they know how. But either way, I think Washington's going to smoke Toronto. It may be a sweep. If not, it'll be 5 games. Ovechkin's going to end up being the MVP of the playoffs and of the Stanley Cup. He deserves it. He's the best player in the league, in my personal opinion, even though Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby all had fantastic years too. I just think if Washington's going to win, this is the year. Same way in baseball, that's a totally different show. But that'll round out the East. In the West, you have Minnesota at the 2 seed versus the St. Louis Blues in the 3 seed. Oddly enough, fire your coach to do well. Boston did it. St. Louis did it. A few other ones did it. I got Minnesota winning this, probably in 6. Minnesota's a strong team. I've always kind of liked Minnesota a little bit. I even liked them when they were the North Stars. But I just feel like they've got too much firepower, and they've got the better defense, I believe. And the better goalie. But it depends on the hot goalie. That's what it always comes down to. Who has the hottest goalie going in, and who can stop a shot here and there. And I think that's going to be Minnesota in that particular series. That leaves us with the Chicago Blackhawks at the 1 seed versus the Nashville Predators, the wild card 2. Here's another case of I want Nashville to win because I've always kind of liked Nashville. They're pretty close to here. Them and Carolina, it's kind of nice if you're going to root for a team, a local team. Those are kind of the 2 closest ones to us here in Atlanta. But Chicago has always been the workhorse. They've always been a powerhouse. So I'm going to call the upset, and I'm going to say Nashville is going to beat Chicago. It's going to go to 7 games if it does. If it doesn't go to 7 games, it's because Chicago won in 6. So either way, because later on in the summer, I'm going to be up in Chicago for some other things. So, if they're still in the playoffs at that point, love to catch a game. If not, hey, Chicago Wolves, love to come hang out with you guys as well, even though you guys won't be playing at the time either. But, yeah, Chicago should win the series in 6. If it goes to 7, Nashville has the advantage, in my opinion. We'll see how this plays out by next week. We'll see how the series is going. Maybe I'll change the pick a little bit. But for now, I think Chicago is probably going to win the series. But I still say go Predators. Smashville is a place on my destination list. Also, the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid that we just talked about. He's the 2 seed. They're going against the San Jose Sharks, who are falling apart at the 3 seed. To me, I would like, Cody Elias, who's on the show a lot. I know they're your San Jose Sharks, and I would love them to do well. But you got a bunch of big injuries, including to the Joes. So I'm going to say the Oilers and Connor McDavid are going to ride that wave they're currently on. They're one of the fastest, hottest teams coming in. I'm going to say Edmonton wins that one, which is, all right, not going to set up anything crazy yet. But the last one in the West is the Anaheim Ducks, who got the number 1 seed against the wild card number 1, and of course that would be the Calgary Flames, Who's going to win this one? Calgary's the hottest team coming in. Anaheim's been pretty solid. I'm going to go Calgary on this one. I'm going upset. I don't know how likely it really is, but I like Calgary for the upset. So, I'm taking Calgary. Let's recap real quick. I've got the Calgary Flames in the upset over the Anaheim Ducks. I've got Edmonton smooth sailing over the Sharks. I've got Chicago narrowly beating the Predators. I've got Minnesota beating St. Louis. I've got Washington over Toronto. Pittsburgh over Colorado. Ottawa over Boston. And I've got the New York Rangers over the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we'll check in next week, see how things are going. But that's going to do it for us this week. Remember, if you're a fan of the Atlanta Gladiators or even the Vegas Golden Knights, you want to tune in the next couple weeks. Still not going to say any names yet, but there's a good chance there's going to be some good people on. That's going to do it for me this week. Thanks for joining us on Board Check. I am Jeremy the Impact York. Go Glads. Go Boston. Go watch hockey. We'll see you next week.